Hello, namaste, vanakkam, adab. This is Bug Hunter Khader. Thank you so much for watching the first video, which is describing about what is software testing and what is the importance of software testing and how many ways are in the software testing and what are all the styles of the software testing. All those things are described in the first video. So the today's session is the what is SDLC and what is the importance of this SDLC in the software testing and when exactly the testing phase is coming to this SDLC model and what are all the different types of models involved in this SDLC and all these things I'm going to explain you in this video. So let's move on to the screen. SDLC is nothing but that a software development life cycle. So what it is exactly mean it is a procedure which is following in order to create a software or system with multiple teams from the software company. The software company will have different teams dev team is there, testing team is there, business gathering, business development people will be there, requirement collection team will be there, the managers will be there. So with all these teams, no, we are just following a procedure, particular procedure we are following here to create a software or a system. So for example, here software is nothing but like we are creating a software, like that's why we are calling it as a software development life cycle, instead of saying that system development life cycle. Both we can say software or system development, whatever it may be, but generally in terms of generally the people will say whenever they're saying about SDLs, just everyone is calling as it as a software development life cycle. So first of all we can see how the software company will be there, how the people will be there, and what are all the different teams will be there. So if you see here, like a customer will be there, so the he's the main person here. We are getting the requirements from him, so the customer is mandatory for us. From him only we are getting the requirements to develop a software. So the first one is the customer, and the next thing, the next block you can see here is customer requirement specification document. So it is nothing but we are getting the requirements from the customer and we are making it as a document, some document exactly what customer is saying. He will say this type of software I want, and these are the features I require in my software, and this is what I'm going to business in the production. So these kind of things he will explain, right? So what are all he's saying and what is the requirement of the customer. So we are converting that particular requirements into the one particular document. That is we are calling it here as a CRS, that is customer requirement specification. And the third block is here, as I said, like earlier in the SDLC, there are many teams will be involved here, right? So, for example, if you're taking software company here, the people will be like this, development people will be there, quality analyst, like software testers will be there, like a manual and automations will be there, and coming back to here, the business analyst, if it is a service-based company, the person who is collecting the requirements from the customer, for them we are calling as a business analyst. For example, if it is a product based company, if you are getting the requirements from the customer for that specific product, then we can call it as a product analyst over there. And we will have some project architects, they will define the architecture of the project and what we are going to develop and how we are going to develop these kind of things. No, the project architects will be defined here, and the project managers will be there. Obviously they are doing they are communicating with the team members and they are doing the deliverables to the client. So HR partner will be there, like human resources, they are checking for the how many resources are there and what are all the resources are doing over there, and these kind of activities, no, the human resource will be taken care. And exactly if you are doing the business, so the finance is the first one, it is dealing with the cost related kind of thing, so the finance manager will also be there. Okay, I think you understand that what is mean by exact software development life cycle. Once again, I'm saying that it is a systematic procedure followed in order to create a software with multiple teams from the software company. Here, the multiple teams is nothing but whatever I discussed in this particular image, like customer and the project architecture, project managers, a development team, quality analyst team, and these people will be involving in the whole complete software development life cycle without having any team member here, the software development life cycle is not completed 100%, because each and everyone is having their own responsibilities and their duties, so they need to participate in this particular uh, completion of that software development. So that's why I'm saying that each and every whoever involved in this, like a team wise, every team is required in the whole software development life cycle. So for example, how the software development life cycle is involved, and what is the testing phase over there, and what is the coding phase, and what we are doing exactly in the software development life cycle. As I said earlier, it is a systematic procedure. The procedure is nothing but here, the customer is there, we are gathering the requirements here. The requirement collection is the first phase for us in the SDLC. So from customer, what customer is requesting us, like whatever he's expecting, like what software he want exactly and what features he want, he will describe all those things with the business people, so that we are gathering the requirements from the customer first. This is the first step involved in the software development life cycle. So after collecting the requirements of the customer, the next phase is like possibility checking. Here possibility checking in terms of like which technology is possible to develop a software for the customer, depends upon the requirement of the customer. And we need to check here, like the what technology we required, and technology in the sense like what Java we are going to use or PHP we are going to use. It will be differ, right? It depends upon the application to application or product to product, it will be differ. So we are checking here the possibility, like how we can able to create this particular uh, software over here. So here in the possibility checking also, we can say that like a business feasibility will be there, and financial kind of things will be there, and the project architectures will be involved in this particular stage. They will check all the possibilities and how quickly we can deliver the good quality product to the customer. So all these things will be done in the possibility checking section. So the next thing is planning. Here the planning is nothing but like we are planning like how we can develop this particular software, and how we can deliver this particular software to the end user. And depends upon what technology and what is the plan for that, whenever we are going to do some task, definitely we will have some plan, right? With that plan only we are moving on to the corresponding task. The same way in SDLC also, like what is we are planning in the completion of the particular task, the same plan will be involved in the SDLC here. After requirement is getting freezed, then the coding, developers will be involving here, like by looking into the plan, whatever they planned here and whatever the technology they are going to use, depends upon all these things, no. The coding team, like the development team, will start there writing the code for that particular application or functionality. So once the coding is completed, they are handovering the application to the testing team. Here our manual and automation teams are getting involved into this particular testing phase. So once the coding is getting completed, so as I said, like yesterday, the testing is starting whenever the requirement is the feasibility of the requirement is correct, and the requirement is getting freezed. At that moment, the testing team will start their analysis and they will write the testing cases. The same procedure is going to involve here. So the coding team is handovering the whatever the logic they developed with for that particular application. That particular application they are going to hand over to the testing team. So here the actual testing is started. If something is not working, something is not expected, then that moment we will raise it as a bug. So again the development team will take that bugs and they will fix that particular, whatever the failure is there, they will fix that particular bugs and they will again they are handovering it to the testing bit. So like this cycle is going until unless uh, the particular application is working 100% fine, until unless the cycle is getting continued here between the development team and testing team. In this also, if there is any misunderstanding of the requirements, they will reach out to the corresponding business analyst over there. If it is a service based company, they are reaching out to the business analyst. If it is a product based company, they are reaching out to the product analyst over there. So initially they will have requirements, clear requirements will be there, but there might be a chance of like misunderstanding the requirements. Because of that, that testing team, there is a chance of rising a bug from the testing team to the development team. So in this situation, definitely the business analyst will be involved in here, and he will clarify all the doubts, and so according to that it is going to happen. So once the testing is completed, so that means the testing team is giving the green signal to the application, like it can able to move on to the production. So production is nothing but like a customer environment. So we are ready to give our application to the customers for their uh, 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 for their usability, like they can able to use that particular uh, uh, application over there. Okay, so whenever we are giving the green signal, like this is ready for usage of the customer's environment, so we are installing that particular software in the production, and the final stage is like support kind of thing. So the customer is given the requirement, we developed that particular application and we are tested that particular application, and we install that particular application into the production. For example, if something is going wrong in the production, like the users are facing the issues, like the environment will be different. For example, if you consider the particular customer is using like Microsoft Edge or Microsoft browser for that, maybe there might be a chance he may get some issues on that particular application, because the most of the people are using the Chrome or Firefox, those kind of things. For example, I'm saying there might be a chance the environment will be different from the customer's perspective, so they might get some they may get some environment issues over there, and they may face some difficulties to log in into the application. So those kind of things, whatever issues we are getting in the production environment, so we are going to give the support from our side. So from requirement collection onwards, until support, that is the complete software development life cycle. We can call it as 100% software development life cycle. So as I said earlier, like the main time will be taking here, like uh, developing the application and testing the application. Here we may face some difficulties, like for writing the logics, and when writing the logics also we need to check whether it is going to impact on the some other modules or not. So these kind of activities will be happen, but all these things are going to handle in the planning session itself. If planning is correct planning is there, then we can deliver our particular application into the production very quickly. So each and every phase is important here. We cannot miss any one of the phase in the whole SDLC life cycle. Okay, I think you got the idea about exact idea about what is the SDLC model. So let's move on to the types of the SDLC models. Like we have several models in the software development lifecycle, from requirement collections to the support or maintenance. So here we are having in the software companies, we are having some models over there, like a waterfall model is there, spiral model is there, and a prototype model is there, like a V model is there, and someone is following agile process over there. So these are all coming into the SDLC model. So I will explain you one by one. The first thing is like waterfall model. So the first SDLC model, everyone will say this as a mother of all the models, all of the SDLC models. It is a mother of the all the SDLC models. Okay, the waterfall model. See, from this picture, we can observe one thing: the water is falling from the higher end to the lower end, from the layer to layer. The same way, our software is also going to develop in the layer by layer. So we can call this SDLC model as we can call it as a like a traditional model. So from requirement collection, first the requirement collection will be done, and then feasibility study will be done, then design will be done, then coding, testing, implementation and maintenance. Like the first thing is like we are getting the requirements here, and we are checking the feasibility for that, and we are designing it like from higher end to lower end, like how the water is falling from the mountain, like from the upper level of the mountain to the ground level. So the same way the waterfall model is also going to work over here. So Here the requirement collection is the main important. Whatever model it is, the requirement is the main thing for us. So after getting the requirement from the customer, the next step in the waterfall model is the feasibility study. Here the feasibility study, the project architectures and project managers will be involved in the feasibility study. Just they will look into the they will check the possibilities of creating the software in this particular feasibility study session. So the project architecture and the project managers will be involving here. After getting the requirements from the customer, they will check for the possibility of creating the software, and like they will identify like the what is the best technology we can match to the customer requirements, from which technology we can use, what is the easiest technology for us, and what is the best technology for us to implement this particular application. So all these kind of things are going to happen in the feasibility study with respect to the project architectures and project managers. So their duty is like they need to identify the best technology to implement the customer given requirement over here. So here the next session is like even in the feasibility study, or the financial feasibility will come and the business feasibility will be coming. The financial in terms of like they will check for the what is the in terms of the finance, in the sense it is obviously it is related to the cost, like so the cost, what is the cost will be going to happen for this particular implementation, and how many resources are required for this, and if there is any license required for this developing this particular application. And these kind of perspectives the project architectures and project managers will think in the feasibility study. And also the business feasibility will be done here, like they will think about in terms of the uh, uh, business perspective, how it is going to work in the business environment. So those kind of things will be happen in the feasibility study. So that is the second step in the waterfall model. Coming back to the third step, like what is a design here. So design is nothing but here we are doing some depends upon the requirements, we are doing the design over there, like what is the design of our software. So we are getting the requirements from the customer, right? We need to design our project implementation over there. So here you can see there are two things in the design, like one is HLD and the second one is the LLD. So HLD is nothing but it is a high level design. So LLD is nothing but low level design. So we can call this these two we need to consider whenever we are going to implement a particular application. These two we need to consider. Here the high level design is nothing but like it is we can call this as a global design of the software as well. So it is specifying that like the project architectures will be there, right? They will design this the architecture of the project, like the blueprint of the project. It will be fully in terms of like uh, how the communication is happening from one module to another module. It will be like whenever we are constructing a house, we are giving some blueprints over there, right? From hall to bedroom, from bedroom to washrooms, and from hall to kitchen. These kind of directions we are giving in terms of the blueprint whenever we are going to build a new house. The same way when we are going to involve in the software application development, so the design is coming into the picture. So it is preparing by the project architects and project managers who is having the experience in that particular domain. So they are going to prepare this high level design. So in this design, like it is like nothing but the blueprint I said, right? So the how the pipeline will be like from after completion of which module we are going to deliver which module, and what is the integration between the first module and second module. Is there any dependency, or is there any third party tool we require? So all these kind of informations will be coming into this particular HLD. Like it is a we can call this as a global level design, and it is like the communication is we are checking here like the communication happens between the from one tool to another tool, or one module to another module, how it is going, like a front end or back end. So we'll have definitely front end back end kind of things, right? Like we are checking here the communication, and they will give the directions for the each and every module over there. So The LLD. The LLD is nothing but like a low level design. So we can call this as low level design because it is having like as I said previous one HLD, it is having like a blueprint kind of thing. So we are not going to understand like everyone is not going to understand with that particular blueprint. Like whoever having the knowledge, they can understand that by looking into that HLD. But coming back to LLD, it is not like that. It is a like a detailed design, like the developers can understand this and a testing team can understand this, and everyone will understand this. Like it is like, it is not a kind of a global level, but it is a, like a detailed design. We can say this as a detailed design. Okay, now this design is going to do by the project managers who is having some experience in the projects, so they are going to handle this low level design. Okay, so the next important thing is like after completion of this design, by looking into the design and by understanding into the requirements which are gathered from the customer, so the development team is going to involve in this waterfall model. So the development team, they will start writing their logic, like coding. So we are calling it as a coding here. So they will write a logic for that particular feature or module, and after completion of their coding, so they will do the unit testing over there by looking into the code whatever they developed. So by looking into that particular code, no, they will do the unit testing and they will hand over that particular application to the testing. But the development team is going to do their testing, like unit testing in the dev environment. So they are moving that particular application to the QA environment. So the testing team will always do the testing in the test environment only. So here whatever the application they received from the development team, and already the testing team will have understanding of that particular requirements in the analysis phase. So they wrote the test cases for that particular feature. So they will start executing whenever they are getting the application code into the QA environment. So they will start executing their that particular test cases, whatever test cases they derived. So they will start executing their testing. So this is the phase we are getting the actual testing over there. So meanwhile, whenever the requirement is getting faced, the testing team is going to do like they need to complete their analysis, they need to write the test cases for that. Okay, after completion of those two tasks, whenever the coding team, like a dev team, is going to hand over the application, so exact testing is going to happen in the waterfall model. And after completion of testing, as we know that we are giving the green signal to the application, so it is ready for the live environment. So we are implementing that particular application into the uh, a live environment, so users can able to use that particular application in the market. So the maintenance is nothing but, as I said in the SDLC, like software development life cycle, we are going to give some support, right? That support is nothing but here the maintenance, like we are going to maintain some like a few days, or depends upon the customer's requirement, and whatever we phrase it for the customer, like how much time we are going to give the support for that particular application. So this and all already discussed, right? That depends upon that we are going to give the support for the customers, like if they are facing any difficulties over there. So we are going to help for the customers. Okay, for that there will be a separate team for that maintenance. Okay, so here this is overall about the waterfall model, from requirement collection to maintenance. So what are all the phases involved here, and what we are doing, the testing team, when exactly they are starting, all these things are I covered over there. So for each and every SDLC model, we will have some advantages will be there and disadvantages will be there. Definitely the waterfall model is having some advantages and as well as some disadvantages. So the first advantage I can say, this is like a sequential process, right? So there is no chance of the communication gap. So we are collecting the requirement, the feasibility is going to done, then we are designing whatever we understand and we are coding it and we are testing and we are developing. So the sequential way it is going to happen, like one by one it is going to happen. So the communication gap between the teams, we can avoid that communication gap from the waterfall model. So once the requirements are getting freezed, right, they are not going to change like time to time. Like once the requirements are getting freezed, then only we are going to start the design and coding, right? So there is no possibility of requirement change again and again in this particular waterfall model. So these two are, I can say, the main advantages from the waterfall model. Like we can avoid the communication gap between the teams, and the requirements are getting freezed here, so there is no chance of change of the requirements over there. So coming back to the disadvantages of this waterfall model, so the time taking, like from requirement collection, feasibility study, design, coding, testing, implementation, so for all the steps, like it is going to happen by step, right? So definitely it will take more time, like to deliver the particular application to the customer, it is going to take more time because it is a sequential process. And I can say the cost of this developing application will also be high for the waterfall model. Like whenever we are choosing the waterfall model compared to the other models, the cost will be uh, obviously high for this particular waterfall model. Okay, because the time is getting increased, right? So depends upon the time factor, the cost will also be getting increased over there. So, and also one more thing here, like uh, we are not going to change the requirement like once it is getting phrased, we are going to develop the same thing in the requirement collection phase. If the business analyst or product analyst or whoever it may be, so they are going, they, if they done any mistake in the requirements, they misunderstand the requirement and the same thing they convey to the team, so it is going to impact the whole thing. Like the main thing is requirement here. If there is a chance, there might be a chance, like the business analyst may misunderstand the requirement. The same thing if he convert that particular misunderstand requirement to the team, so the what will happen now here, like the whole development life cycle will getting impacted here, because we are coming from the starting onwards, like the design, coding, testing. So if something is not matching with the requirement, we need to do again one more time uh, uh, from initial onwards. Like the planning should be affect here, the design should be affect here, and the coding will be affect here. So the main disadvantages are like three, I can say. The time is getting increased to deliver the particular software to the customer, and if obviously if the time is getting increased, the cost also will be getting increased here, and there might be a chance of misunderstanding of the requirement from the business analyst. The same thing he conveyed to us, like the whole thing will getting impact over here. So we are going to waste our time, and we are going to waste our cost whatever we spent on that particular application. So obviously we need to satisfy the customer, right? Obviously we need to change the requirement again, and we need to work for the as per the customer's requirement. But I can suggest this waterfall model, it is not suitable for the all the projects. Like if you are going to do a single time activity, like for example, if you're planning for the particular tour application, or particular like ticket booking application, so these kind of things will be waterfall model can follow, because the requirement is not keep on changing. Once the requirement is getting freezed, so whatever requirements we are in our hand, the same thing we are going to implement. So there is no chance of changing the requirement or changing the technology. These kind of things won't become, because we are going to use it for the small projects or small applications. So this is suitable only for the small applications and small projects. So this is overall about the first model, which is waterfall model. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to explain you about the spiral model here. So the spiral model, in this second model, so we have some disadvantages in the waterfall model. So we moved into the next model, that is the spiral model here. Okay, so here the same thing, like the requirement collection will be there, the design will be there, coding will be there, and testing will be there. These four are same here, but the spiral model is little bit better than the waterfall model. So I can say this spiral model is suitable for the product based companies, because the product based companies, they already developed their product. Okay, they will have this developed product in their hand, and they're going to sell that particular product to the customer. Okay, what will happen whenever the customer is purchasing that particular product, the customer or client, he may have some changes over there. So what he will do, no, he will pick the basic model from the whoever developed that particular application. He purchased the basic model, the basic system he will purchase. Depends upon his requirement, he will request us to change the requirements, and he wants some implementation, additional implementation, which is not in the basic model. For example, nowadays we are everyone is using Ola and Uber. Okay, so initially we were having the Ola and Uber too only. Nowadays, so many things are coming, like Rapido is coming, and the remaining other cab facilities are coming in the metropolitan cities. So what, for example, if I am selling the product which is a clone of like Uber or Ola, I will purchase that particular product here, and I will ask my requirement to the application developers to do my modification. Like I want to change the UI of that particular my application, and I want to add some additional features which are not having in the corresponding base product over there. For example, if I'm taking here as a Ola or Uber, so whatever are features not available in that particular base product, I'm going to give my ideas to the business team, and they are going to implement those ideas into the application. So here I can say the spiral model is, it is a basic system will be implemented initially, and it is given to the customer. During the project maintenance, like during the application usage, if new functionalities are requested by the customer, no, so those new functionalities we are implementing here and we are delivering it to the customer. So I can say this is mainly used in the product based companies. So because the requirement changes can be handled very easily. So we are not going to change the initial line of code. So just we are providing whatever we have as a product, we are giving it to the customer or client. If based upon his request or his changes on the request, we are changing the some, we are adding some more logics into our existing code, and we are delivering it to the a customer. Okay, so here the business analyst, I can say if it is a service based company, the business analyst will be involving. If it is like a product based company, they are going to follow the spiral model. There the requirement collection will be done by the product analyst. The remaining phases are like designing, coding, testing. All these things are same as like a previous model only. Okay, so here we have how we are getting the requirements, and how we are converting that particular requirements into the technical piece of information, and how it is going to happen. For example, the requirement is getting started from here. The requirement collection is going to collected, it is already getting freezed over here, and then we start design over here in this particular phase, and coding is completed and testing is completed. In the next cycle, if the customer is requesting some changes on the basic system, so again we are collecting the requirements here, design is going to do, coding is going to do, testing is going to do. But by implementation of this particular line, the first line, which is the basic system, is not going to impact. The code will be available for the basic system, and we are going to develop the code for the whatever the new request which we got from the customer. So it is going to happen here, but it is not going to impact on the this particular line of code. That is the main advantages here. Like the interdependency will be high over there. So from this to this particular feature to this particular feature, no, the interdependency will be very very high. Okay, and I will showcase you like a customer requirement specification or business requirement specification, which we are getting it from the requirement collection phase, right? So here the CRS and BRS, like the customer requirement specification or business requirement specification, it is a simple English document. As I shown you in the SDLC, like it is having some document, like it will consist of like some the technical piece of information only, but it is like the simple document, like whatever customer is requirement. So for example, like he wants to implement some future that will be explained in the like in English, like English sentences over there. That's why we are calling it as a simple document, and it is a like a CRS, customer requirement specification document. And that particular customer requirement specification document is going to convert into the technical piece of information is called SRS. That is going to happen with the business people. So the CRS or BRS is converting into the technical piece of information, that is calling as SRS, that is a software requirement specification. Okay, the CRS is going to convert into the SRS, that is the software requirement specification. So the business analyst or product analyst will be converting the CRS into the technical document over here. And the next one is from SRS, that is the software requirement specification, which is going to convert into the like FS, that is nothing but functional specification we can call, like a functional development specification we can call, otherwise the full technical document. So the dev team is going to convert that like software specification document into the functional specification document. So with these three, no, here the spiral model is following here. As I said earlier, the requirement is getting collected here, the design is completed, coding and testing is completed. Again, if customer is saying something new, that new requirement is getting collected from the customer, and it is going to implement over there. But the testing team, what testing team will do, no, they completed testing for this particular feature in the first line, right? Again, if they are going to test the second implementation, they need to involve in the regression testing here. Because if the newly implemented feature here, it should not impact on the previous cases. So we are going to verify the previously executed test cases as well, whether it is the implementation of this particular line is going to like impact the previous implemented line. So here the testing team will involve the regression testing for the each and every new implementation of the module or application over there. Like we can say not application, we can say it as a module. So to whatever the modules are implemented like like a spiral model, so for each and every implementation, the testing team will going to spend some time on the regression testing over there. So the requirement changes will be like the minor changes will be there, sometimes the major changes will be there, but the requirement changes handling will be easier in this spiral model. Okay, so as I said earlier, like waterfall model is having some advantages and disadvantages. The same way, the spiral model is also having some advantages and disadvantages. So first, coming back to the advantages of this uh, spiral model, is the first thing I can say it as the requirement changes can be handled very easily. Okay, because the interdependency is very high here. Because when customer purchase the particular product, and if you are going to implement in the higher end, okay, the second time if you are going to change the modification with the high end, at that moment if he is facing in the any issues in the previous model, it should not come into the second release, right? So the same kind of that one we can call it as the interdependency of the module to module. So each and every release the interdependency will be high, and the requirement changes can be handled very easily over here. And the interdependency between the release is very high over there. So coming back to the disadvantages, so this is also like a sequential process, like requirement, design, coding, and testing. So it is also going to take more time. So until unless getting the future into the testing phase, the testing team needs to wait over there. They need to coding team has to complete like they need to develop their logic. So here the time taken is more because it is a sequential process. And if the time is getting increased, as I said earlier, the cost of the creating software will also be high. Okay, and again here the requirement collection, if something uh, requirement collection is went wrong, at that moment the whole thing we need to modify. But changes will be very less here, the like minor changes only we will get over here, but we can handle that in the requirement collection correction phase here. So these are all the topics I covered in this particular video, like what is SDLC and what type of models are there. So in this video, I covered only two SDLC model over here. So in the next video I will continue like the remaining SDLC models. So yes, the next video we can continue that particular the remaining models over there. Yeah, I think everyone got idea about what is SDLC and what models we are having in the SDLC and what is the exact process we are following in the SDLC. I think all this information I covered in this video, and I also covered the two models from the SDLC, that is a waterfall model and a spiral model. I think everyone got some knowledge about this waterfall model and the spiral model. So the remaining models I'm going to cover into the next video. Until then, thank you so much. Bye bye.